Hi, welcome, Tiffany. Can I call you Tiff? It's just gonna happen. So is that okay if I just call you Tiff?
That is fine. Yeah.
Perfect. Tiff and Kip, which I just have been loving saying all week. Tiff and Kip, Kip and Tiff, and loving that. Welcome to the bridge. I am very just my heart is really happy to see both of you on here. Kip, I don't know you as well, so I'm like very selfishly like getting very excited to get to know you more in this episode and learn about your relationship with Tiff and how y'all have managed so much change together. So
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 tight.
tight.
Just kidding.
So tight. And Tiff is my has been my partner in crime for a couple years now. So I it's just so fun. And I'll just say like this right here, the two of you, this was my vision. Like when I think about educators that have been through it together, I've learned that you two have been through some stuff together. And really the bridge is about capturing those stories of community and togetherness and safety and love and moving those out into the universe so that educators that are in different parts of their career that are wondering, what do I do and how do I do it? They can start to form those bridges with people in their community like you all have. So it's super special to have you on. I will stop talking now and let you both introduce yourself. Your bios will be in the show notes, so feel free to just riff. I'll let you fight it out, duke it out. Who's going first?
Good tip.
Okay. Well, I am Tiffany Carson, or Tiff, and I have been a special education paraeducator, special education teacher. I have been an assistant principal at a comprehensive high school. I've served at a district office doing all things kind of college and career readiness. So love my counselors, love my CTE teachers, like love all of the opportunities that dual enrollment can afford. And now I work at a county education office where I support district leaders thinking through the decisions that come with the development of strong LCAPs and differentiated assistance. But I also lead local efforts around artificial intelligence and social emotional learning. So,
I
yeah.
mean, I don't have enough fingers. I just started counting my toes.
Other duties is assigned, right? Isn't that how we roll as educators?
Seriously.
I love it, and I love it all.
I
Yeah.
do too. And I live close enough to where I get to see Tiff like IRL, which is the best. And Kip, Dr. Glazer.
My name is Kip Glazer. I had the distinctive pleasure of working with Tiffany as a high school principal, trying to expand our dual enrollment program, strengthen CTE, and we were in a journey together to get the Wellness Center built at San Marcos High School. And even though I take full credit because that's what principals do, just kidding, we, with help from Tiffany, San Marcos High School and the district, was able to win a grant close to almost $700,000, right? The Strong Workforce Grant to build a wellness center, which has been my dream since I became the principal at San Marcos High School. And then since I left, Tiffany has been a continuing force in moving the agenda forward. So I am super excited to hear some updates on San Marcos High School Wellness Center. And now I'm currently principal at Mountain View High School in Mountain View, California, where I serve a lot of parents who work in the tech industry. And we have launched a new program called Tech Internship Program, which has been my passion because I used to be a tech trainer for a large district in Central Valley. And I think that my leadership philosophy has been that smart people need to leave this world a better place. So we need to use our intelligence to create kind humans so that we can continue to fulfill the mission of education, which I believe is that the purpose of education is to create an educated populace for the protection of democracy. So we educators do an important job of maintaining democracy, and I think that we're all in this together.
I love it. I think something you shared about just the time you spent, and I know the story of the health center development just from what Tiff has shared with me. It's incredible the resources it's going to bring to our local community here in Santa Barbara, and it's amazing to me that you all did the huge lift that you did. But so I would love to know, like, when like I said, I wanted to bring on people that have been through it together. And so maybe take a minute to kind of paint the picture of what it looked like to go through whatever part of the it feels the most sparkly, or now it's sparkly. Maybe in the moment it wasn't so sparkly. Or impactful or memorable.
I'll go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll go. I think the idea of wellness center, and just jump in and correct me anytime, because as you get older, you start to like, did it actually happen? And the idea of wellness center, though, has been around in the community, right? Like, I think there was sort of like the seed or desire to have something, some physical representation of the community's desire to support our young people. There wasn't a place or a program or investment. So when I arrived at San Marcos, I became the principal during the first year of pandemic. Right? So there were conversations around wellness being important, and when boom, pandemic hit, schools shut down, and then post-pandemic, the need and desire to really support our young people in meaningful fashion became stronger. Yeah. And I think we took advantage of that momentum, which is kind of strange because post-pandemic with hybrid learning, I just remember the pain point of people trying to figure out what are we going to do for our kiddos. And I think that's where Tiff and I, and a lot of people, and I'm not trying to say we did it all, and I just want to be very upfront and clear, but from our perspective, we sort of leveraged whatever the challenge was and turned it into an opportunity. And I think that's really the sort of message or lesson, right? I think that when we're so in it, we struggle to see the opportunity it can bring. And that's why I really admire, I have deep respect for Tiffany for that. I think we were in that solution mode and going for the opportunities that are out there that other people may not have been looking. And so half the funding actually came from our bond, where it was designated for a building. And I said, what if we do this fundraising to create the matching opportunity, and we harness our energy into Wellness Center because that's what the community wants. And then I said, I could probably swing that with the building stuff, but what are we going to put in it? And Tiffany was like, we'll write a grant. And then that's how it all came together.
Amazing.
Do you have anything to add?
And I want to emphasize too, like the idea of a wellness center, there's a lot of that language right now with wellness coaches and with community schools. But what is maybe different and unique about what Kip and I are talking about was San Marcos already had a health career academy where there were CTE and dual enrollment courses that had a partnership with our local cottage hospital. So students already had this pathway where they were exploring medical careers, getting their like a CNA certification, doing all of these things. And when we were saying wellness center, it was not just we need a building on campus where families can be connected with resources, but it was how can we find ways for our students to be part of the conversation about wellness, and how can we create a pathway where students can, one, learn about wellness careers beyond what we think of physical wellness, where the Wellness Center can also be a place for students to provide peer coaching, peer mentorship, and we can also be that place where community members can get connected to wellness resources as well. So when we say wellness center, I want to really paint a full picture of this like idea of building community wellness and leveraging the assets and passion of our students to support their current realities as well as their future careers.
Absolutely.
So
yeah, and the teachers too, right? Like, was that part of the vision? Yeah.
Yes.
I think that's what's really striking about this story, and kind of like what it represents as far as like how you two maybe took care of each other during that time. Because I mean, to be an educational leader during the pandemic, like no joke, right? I mean, anybody in education at that time, they were really just stretched. But to also be navigating systemic change and systems and operations and all of it, like, oh my goodness, and so how did you two find each other during those times? Like, what did support between each other look like?
Phone calls, an interesting email, or texting, like, what the heck just happened? Did that person just say that? And it's usually me sort of being little fiery, and then Tip saying, okay, what I heard that person said was X, and Kip, I think you could potentially think about it this way. And 80% of the time that work, and other times I'm like, shut up, I'm just going to be mad about it. And that's okay, right? Like, you find people, and I think that was me, comic relief.
Yeah.
And they would just laugh and be like, yeah, that's true. That person was really out of line. And let's go back and focus on the problem. I'm like, sometimes you just have to say we're mad about it, okay? It is okay. And I think that's what important to my girlfriend, right? We can say that, and then we come back down to it, and then we can sort of like code switch and go, okay, let's go into the meeting. And we will do a lot of pre-gaming too. There are meetings where we go, okay, I mean, I usually am the driver, right? Like the principal, that's the role. Okay, I'm going to make demands, and I'm going to ask for all these things, knowing that if I ask for 7 things, I'll probably get 3. And people like, okay, and let me just give you the background of all these humans. And then, yes, we could probably get 4 things. I'm like, oh, I was going to set up for 3. Like, we do a lot of that. And then after the meeting, we be like, so how did I do? And usually Tiff is too kind and too polite to say, well, perhaps you could have said this differently, but we got there. We're okay. Is that an accurate description, Tiff? I don't want to describe it differently.
No, well, I don't. I mean, I want you to give credit to yourself as well. I mean, it was there were so many things, right? There was navigating the pandemic. We were both new to our roles. So I was new to my role as a district coordinator. And so, you know, we were building relationships with each other. We were building relationships with the students, the teachers, the families that we were there to serve. We were doing it under pandemic conditions. And we also were at a district where there were changes in leadership that were also starting to change some of the culture. And, you know, everybody was kind of on uneven footing. And so, you know, Tip's talking about intentionally checking in with one another. And, you know, I'm just so grateful, Kip, that you and I were able to get to a place where we could be direct and we could be vulnerable with each other and be like, I think I just blew that, you know, not Kip, like me, like, I think I blew that. Like, I overstepped, or this is what I thought. This was my intent, but this was the impact. Am I reading that right? Or what's your take on it? And so finding people who can give you that honest feedback, but from a place of wanting you to be better, wanting the system to be better, like, that's something that I find so valuable about you, Kip, and something that I've learned so much from you about, you know. So whenever you're working on something, finding those people
Yeah.
who will tell you like it is in love. Like, that's huge.
Well, it's so amazing to hear, Kip, your description of Tiff, because I feel like there might be some parallels in my relationship with Tiff, and I, which tells me there's definitely some commonalities you and I share. she's she's been a really, I think the best part of your support, Tiffany, is just like your brain is going so fast, but your delivery is so intentionally like comprehensible. And that is what I've really appreciated about just being in your orbit and problem solving and ideating with you. And she says she leads she's part of leading the AI efforts in the county. And like, she started that because she signed up to be a participant in a session I was doing. And then she became like the co-facilitator the same day. I mean, and girlfriend stepped up. Like, she's like, done, I will learn. And boom, here we are. And it's just really, it's, we're talking about social intelligence and emotional intelligence. And I think that it's interesting to hear that those type of like, that we must all be in tune, whether we realize it or not. And I think having someone like to bounce ideas off of that's going to let me be my true semi-chaotic self from time to time is really important. And also makes me wonder, like, how do we help other educators kind of cultivate that? Like, are there examples, like, you guys have been in leadership, so you've seen like what works and what doesn't work. Like, what do you see as being like a component of community on campus that you think really works?
I don't know about it. It's a community component.
Mhm.
I think I know what works for me is that I am an immigrant. I had to learn to speak English. I'm in a position where people who look like me, sound like me, have my background, don't occupy very often. Research is very clear, right? Because the direct pipeline to superintendency is comprehensive high school principal, majority of them. And many of those roles are not necessarily occupied by somebody who is in my profile. And that's been like that since I arrived in United States. It's always like, oh, you want to be an English teacher and you're a language learner. How does that work? Or you want to go into tech coming from a humanities background. How does that work? And oh, you want to be a high school principal, like, but you never played football, though. So how does that work? Like, always these sort of like questioning. And I've decided early on that I was gonna fully lean into my otherness, if you will, and I'm gonna look at that as a strength, not as a weakness. And I've decided that to fight that weird narrative about climb and kick, right? So that's the phenomena that people talk about. Women, when they climb, they kick other women. Men don't do that. Like, that is a terrible narrative, and we need to debunk that, right? So I was at an event recently. I was on a panel, and this leader who is minority leader, and she was talking about microaggression, right? Somebody in her sphere said, oh, you X type of leader, all the same, you're like crabs. You put them all in the bucket and they climb and try to get to the air by pushing other people down.
Wow.
That's why I don't want to hire people like you. And I was just so devastated.
Wow.
And I was like, what? And I looked at her, and she is a superintendent or assistant superintendent of a large district that made such transformational changes under her leadership. And she was talking about her ascension to that position and how challenging that was. And hearing from another woman leader of that description of her future was just how devastating that was. And that's what I said. I have a new slogan, like, don't be a crab, be a dolphin. Because I have seen where situations where I am trying to pull my other people up.
Did it freeze for you, Tiff?
Yeah, I've lost her.
Okay. Oh my God, I'm obsessed with this metaphor. Like, be be a dolphin. Don't be a crab. Like, I don't know what I would do if I was sitting in that around that comment. Like, have you ever received any sort of feedback like that, Tiff, on your like experience kind of doing, I won't say climbing the ladder. I call it, I think of my career as like a jungle gym. And so as you've been traversing your own jungle gym professionally.
Yes, and to Kip's point, I do think that there is often a perception that there's not enough space, right? That somehow if one person's getting something, and you see this actually in education, not even just about positions of leadership, but if we give access or if we give this thing to somebody, that means that we're taking away something from somebody else. And there's so many examples in real life about how that's not how things work.
Right.
And I have talked to people about like this idea of love, right? Like love is not a finite resource.
Right.
I can add people that I love, and that in no way takes away from what other people have or the love that I have for other people or have how that manifests. And Kip, I think we lost her for a little bit.
I just sent her the
just
link.
want to-
Maybe she'll pop back on.
Great. I want to give her props because when I think about Kip and my experiences with her, she is one of the best people I know at speaking on behalf of other people, even when they're not in the room. She is very thoughtful about giving credit where credit is due. And that even, that's not to say that she necessarily has to agree with blindly everything that the people around her or her co-leaders or the people that she supports say. But she's able to find the thing about everybody, every person that she interacts with. It's like, oh, that's a thing that I can give gratitude for, and I don't have to take, all of the space in the room. She's always been a dolphin. I've never seen Kip be a crab.
Noted.
So, yeah.
I wonder if, I can't say that I've worked strategically all over the years to surround myself with other dolphins, but I do think that more recently, like just over this last year, being a contractor for these 15 months, like I've had an opportunity to really assess like who I surround myself with and why those people are in my life. And I think like that concept, like really paying attention to the crabs and the dolphins and whatever form they take. Sometimes they happen within me. Like sometimes I'm my own crab, like sometimes I'm the one who's like pushing myself down because of X, Y, or Z. And I think it's important for us to acknowledge that like, if you're an educator and you're having a moment where like you feel like something is limited and you need to do what you can to get it, like that's a very normal feeling. And I don't know what to do with it except to say like I get it, like we aren't all born, not everybody is born or lives or is able to be a dolphin in every moment, right?
Fair. And one piece of advice I'm thinking of earlier on in my career, there was a superintendent. I think he's now, I'm not sure where he is now, but Dr. Ben Drotty, he used to have a saying that I loved that was be hard on the problem, not the person. And I really, I cannot claim to live up to that all the time. But I do like try to say that to myself internally as a check.
I think you live that, girl. I think you live that. You help, like, you don't
100%.
And like you don't even say it, but like you live it. Because I'm thinking like how many times you've helped me adjust my perspective to look at a problem, not the source of where the problem's coming from. And that is a gift. That is amazing. Kip, in your absence, you missed a little love fest from Tiff, saying you have never been a crab.
Thank you. And that really matters to me. I really am trying to be a dolphin, right? Like they hunt for food together, they try to cooperate, they learn together, and that's what educators and education leaders should do. I
Yeah.
really try to lift other strong female leaders up. And I have to tell you, I mean, Tiff's been in admin situation before. It is getting harder and harder to be good leader, period. And it's just sometimes there are days it's almost impossible to be a good leader. And I think it's education is getting harder and harder because it's like all problems for everybody comes to because we serve all students, right? So then everybody's issues, problems all come to school, and we're asked to do more and more and more with less and less and less. And what is so fascinating to me is people say, "Oh, I would never want to do your job," all the time, at least once or twice a day. I hear it. And I really want to say, like, then don't make it harder. Be kinder to me, be nicer to me, be more patient with me. And know that I mean, I'm not just talking about myself. I'm saying, like, school leaders, we're doing the best we can with what we got. Just so critical of everything that we're doing at every moment. And I think we need, and those podcast people tell you, oh, you should give yourself grace. I'm like, I give myself plenty of grace. It's just the other people
aren't doing it. Right.
They need to give us a break, man.
So that leads me to the next question, which is how individually, how do you both refill after you've done your pouring out each day? What's your refill like?
I walk at like, I know people think I'm crazy, but I get up around 4:45 in the morning.
You're not crazy. That's amazing. I wish I could do that.
And I force myself to go for a walk at least an hour because I find that when I don't do that, I'm not as kind to my people because I feel depleted. And during that time, I listen to good books or talk to people who are at East Coast because that's the only time I can talk to them. Or just sometimes I don't do anything other than just walk to be quiet with my thinking.
I love it. What about you, Tiff?
Oh, this is tough and not something that I always get right, for sure. Like emails, let's talk about that. I mean, hours of communication, especially when you are a site leader. And, trying to think about that balance of leading by example. Am I sending emails to teachers at crazy hours? Because that happened to be the free time that I have. But then making sure that they don't feel like my expectation is that they're reading and responding things, so am I using schedule sends? Am I putting an email sign off that says, I am sending this at the time that works best for me. Please respond
at
the appropriate time that works best for you.
That's great.
And, earlier, Kate, you mentioned like emotional intelligence. And I think as leaders, part of that is talking explicitly with ourselves, the people who care about us in our lives, like the teams that we serve, about when is this a season of busyness and it's just a season or a moment, or when is something becoming a culture and a problem? And, I think one thing that I struggle with is I tend to be very like direct. We're here to work. Let's get to work. And I think trying to find moments to build in fun or laughter or those gratitude practices, because it's about the work, but also it's about the people, and we're not going to be able to sustain ourselves and the work and the importance of education is something that supports democracy if we can't be healthy together.
Yeah.
And I'll also say, which is maybe premature advice, but have the courage to remove yourselves from situations where the conditions are not there for you to be healthy. And somebody could listen to this and say, well, that's education generally. Yes, and I have lived in places where the culture is healthy and we were able to sustain one another. And I have lived in situations where the culture was not healthy and it took time and other people checking in on me to be like, this is not sustainable. This is not healthy. And you know what? You can find other places where you can make a difference and where you will add value, where you will be valued and you can help others feel value. And, so I'm not saying tough it out. I'm not also saying don't be a wimp, but develop, those people in your life who can tell you like,
Yeah. I would.
this isn't good.
Right. Yeah. Your critical friends, right? The critical friends. Or I was recording a podcast earlier, and the idea of forming your own personal executive board, where you have the friend who's going to be, serve this role and this role and this role. And if you, and I mean, I guess you could call them your executive board. She actually does with a couple of her girlfriends, but that idea is of really creating an environment and a community that sees you and accepts you and loves you and includes you. And yet, Kip, you said this, like lean into our otherness in a way that elevates it as a strength. I think that's so beautiful. And I always preach belonging, but I have never heard anyone say it the way you did. So thank you for that. Like how empowering. I can actually take what makes me different and acknowledge it and use it in a way that I used to hide it, right? And that is that's a game changer. And I thank you for that little nugget, because that's my gold for today. It's amazing.
Oh, well, you're welcome and thank you.
Yeah.
And I think that I want to also respond to what Tiff just said, right? I think I feel like women are enculturated to be hard on ourselves, right? When things are tough, I mean, maybe in some ways, it's very sexist comment, but I don't hear men say very often, I must have done something or it must be my problem. They usually say it as it's a problem.
Yeah.
As opposed to my women colleagues, it's oh, if they internalize somehow that identity of having to be nurturer, the fixer, all of that. And I try to say, it is okay to just state the facts. Just say, it is a problem. It's not our problem. It's my problem. There is a problem, right? So then there is a little bit of mental distance. So you can actually bring your nurturing self to the problem. So that's something that I try to model. And specificity of language is super important, right? So I try to listen for what I heard you say is this. Is it really what you mean? Because it sounds like you're somehow expecting me to fix all of your problems, right? So, and first of all, is it even a problem, right? That's another saying. What problem are we even trying to solve here? And is it within your control? Is it within my control? Okay, is that the best way of really defining that problem? And let's not own the world's problem here. So, and I think leadership is so important. I've had lots and lots of great leaders, and I know I owe huge chunk of my career to Kerry Matsuoka, who hired me and gave me a job. And I swear when he called me, oh, we would like to offer you a job. I was an assistant principal for 2 years and an administrator of whopping 3 years. And I was like, what were you thinking? You're crazy. And yet he gave me the job. And that first year when I became the principal, I was the pandemic principal, right? Talk about luck. I was very lucky. And I think that we do have to honor the people who see our potentials in a way that is honoring their sort of trust and faith by showing up with our full selves every single day. That's how I honor many people.
Love it. And so my last question for both of you, if you could go back, I've asked this question of many of my guests. If you go back and talk to yourself as a third-year teacher, but I want to ask you a different question. I want to ask you both, if you could go back and talk to yourself as a second-year admin, what advice would you give yourself, knowing what you know now, having stormed and normed?
You want to go first, Tiff?
I don't know. I'm kind of ruminating. Do you have something?
I mean, you can work it out loud. Just work it out.
Well, one of the things that I think is challenging, whether you're a teacher or you're a new administrator, is that you go through your program and then you're put on a campus and then it's just the work and it's intense and it's in front of you. And those first years are so forming. They're so formative, right? And so who you connect with and what you see outside of your classroom is hugely impactful. And so as a new teacher, I think, wow, I wish I could have gotten into more classrooms. And because I was a special education teacher, I was able to do that in a way that sometimes I think some of my general education colleagues weren't able to do. But I was in math, I was in science, I was in English, like I was everywhere. And I think as new administrators too, and especially if you're on an elementary campus, man, we have elementary campuses where you can be the only administrator. But how do you learn about different approaches? How do you learn, hey, it might be a culture in the way we do things in my district, but did you know there's other ways of being, there's other ways of thinking about it. And, there's a beauty in coming up within the system where you've taught and where you've been an administrator. And there is value too in considering what things look like outside of the context that you are most familiar with. And so find those people that you can connect with that are going to offer you that alternative perspective. And that can come from your students and that can come from your families as well as colleagues who are situated in other places.
I love that. That's great advice. Kip, you ready to drop the mic?
Oh, I don't know. I might have to change my mind a couple of times. I think I tend to go pretty quick to the outcome. And I think that I've been very, very lucky. I have been able to find people who can give me lots of shortcutted advice. And I thought, like, what is there for me to give back? I don't, like, because you're a baby administrator, you're like, oh, I'm just taking right now. I'm just taking in. So the advice I would give myself is that give yourself a break. Being a leader is so hard that you would have to exercise yourself, like the skills that you didn't even know you needed. Because I think there is a difference between being a leader and having the title. And being a leader, being a leader is about a mindset and a practice and how you show up in the world, which is not the same as the title that you get. So then I think I would spend less time worrying about my title, but more time worrying about really trying to be authentic self and understanding that even if you don't have the title, you have been a leader, classroom teacher, you're a leader, right? Mom, being a mom, I'm a leader. And how do I really blend
who I am as a human being into my leadership journey, and really try to understand that, like, not only you're taking, but you can also give to the field, the people. So little less worried about getting to the end, but more enjoying the journey. So
Love
that's what
it.
I would tell myself. Yeah.
You both have gifted me. I have been writing down all your little nuggets. So thank you. I do this during the podcast because I never know what I'll title the episode until I'm talking to the people. I have lots of options. And I want to
Yeah.
thank you though for just making the time for this, but also like the perspectives you both bring, not only as like a duo of support, but as individual empowered women in education and leadership. It's just it is so wonderful to be around other women that are shaking the boat and having expectations and not accepting less than what needs to be done to be excellent for students. And for that reason, I adore you both, and I thank you. I'm so happy to be in your orbit.